Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and you are an important part of our EWTN family, and we're delighted that you have welcomed us into your home. We want to hear from you, so just send us an email with any question or comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com. Well, today we want to present to you a show that we had recorded Susan Barrett and Andrea Depauw, an outstanding ministry called Aid for Women. You can go to a great website called heartbeatinternational.org also to find out how does this ministry work and ways that you can learn all about pregnancy medical centers also.
We have that heartbeatinternational.org up, yes, because when we do shows like this, they have a maternity home, a crisis pregnancy center. We also speak about optionline.org, the 1-800-712-4357. So what do these have to do? Heartbeat International and Optionline can tell you where pregnancy centers are, where you're located, or if you want to start one. If there's one in your area, you probably don't need to start one. If you want to start one, Heartbeat International is for you.
Right, or if you're inspired by the show and you want to work at a pregnancy medical center, then you call Heartbeat International and they'll let you know where everything is located. Well, we want you to be sure to check EWTN's Facebook page, www.facebook.com/EWTN online for pro-life videos that you can share in advance of Ireland's pro-abortion referendum that's coming up this Friday, May 25th, which allows abortion up to the moment of birth. Google is banning pro-life advertising in the 2 weeks leading up to the vote. So millions of unborn babies are depending on you to share the pro-life message now. Now is the time to stay involved, to stay prayerful, to be praying and fasting for the country of Ireland. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, you know, somebody has said that Ireland is the jewel in the crown of the pro-life movement. I think it may have been somebody from the pro-abortion community that said that. And therefore, we have to remove that jewel. For us, it's Ireland's the jewel in the crown of the pro-life movement. Isn't that wonderful? Thank God for Ireland and their stand for life. So two opposing visions. And so Ireland, we're standing with you. People throughout the world are standing with you to keep that pro-life plank, the right to life, the sanctity of life of the mom and the child. And we're going to trust for a good outcome. And if there isn't, let it be a time of momentum, no matter what. That Ireland would be overrun with life one way or the other. Keep the momentum going for life in your great nation, and we're standing with you. So we'll be right back in just a few moments with Aid for Women, the great work of these CPC centers in Chicago and their maternity homes. Don't go away, plenty more to come.
Welcome back. Well, you are at home with Jim and Joy, and we have two absolute lovely ladies visiting us today on At Home with Jim and Joy. Susan Barrett, who is the Executive Director of Aid for Women, and Andrea Depauw, who runs the residential. You are the residential coordinator for a home that you have, a maternity home for girls. So delighted to have you here all the way from Chicagoland, and it's very hot in Alabama right now, and but we're so happy that you're here, and I feel united with you, especially in our apostolate and our ministry that we do in loving women. So you are the Executive Director of Aid for Women. What is Aid for Women? Why don't you tell us how it got started, how God brought you into it, and let's go.
Sure. Aid for Women was started in 1978, and it was by Deacon Tom Bressler and some other people within his parish. And right after the Roe v. Wade decision, I think everyone was just so shocked, and they just felt like, you know, we need to do something. I think at first people thought, oh no, this won't stand as the law of the land. Certainly, you know, another administration or someone else is going to come and, you know, change this. But then in time they realized that this was a reality.
Yeah, yeah. So it was 1973.
And 73.
Roe versus Wade, Doe versus Bolton. And you all started up at about 1978?
1978, yeah.
That's
By
right.
the time they kind of got it together and gathered up their information for what they needed to do to form a corporation.
It's here. What are we going to do about
Right.
this? And so what was the vision that was given, the mission that was given for Aid for Women? What particular aspect of the movement, what stream are you flowing in?
Well, the mission is kind of what we're still doing today, is to reach out to young women who are in a difficult pregnancy and might be considering abortion, and just to give them the emotional and material support that they need to choose life.
I love I saw on your website that you want to empower women to choose life by giving them the material and emotional support that they need in crisis pregnancy. And I was impressed by the word to empower. How are you empowering them? What do you hear? How do they come to you? You know, how do you hear of them? What condition are they in, and how do you try to empower them?
Yeah, I guess when they come to us, they're just feeling really down about themselves and their situation, and they're often in a situation where everyone around them is telling them to have an abortion, and most of them know that it's in their heart that it's wrong, so they're just kind of reaching out to that one person or one organization who will say, you know, we support you, we'll be here with you, you know, we'll just do whatever, give you whatever support and help you need to, you know, be able to bring this child to life.
Right, and the beauty of that is calming the storm, right? And just saying, come out of the chaos and the crisis that you find yourself in, and come into our home, come into our center, where we're going to calm the storm, where you're going to hear the truth in love. Some of your centers do ultrasounds. Yes. Right? And so you do pregnancy tests, you do ultrasounds, you do counseling, and then if a client is interested, she wants to continue her pregnancy with the great fear that if I continue my pregnancy, my parents are going to kick me out and I'll have no place to live. And then comes along this beautiful Andrea Depauw, as she's the residential coordinator, which is another arm of your ministry. Andrea, why don't you tell us about being a residential coordinator?
I'm so excited because I never thought of it before, but when you were talking about how much you love the word empower, I just realized that that decision is made freely when I think about God giving us free will. And so when we calm the storm and we receive them and we're loving them, all of a sudden they're free of their fears and they're really choosing life freely. I wonder if a woman ever really chooses abortion freely in the way that God wants us to choose Him freely. Ah, that's so exciting. Sorry, Holy Spirit. But so the residential program is just an extension of that love and that freedom. So many times the women have met one of our counselors. We identify that housing is one of those material resources that they need in order to freely choose life. And they come to our home, they have a visit, and a big a focus for us. We have staff in the home, residential coordinators, our VT Corps members who are live-in volunteers. They're with the moms during dinner. They help them rise for morning prayer and are wiping up baby spit as it comes up through the house. So
a real home environment.
It is, it really is. And I love that. In one of our videos, Mary Fiorita, one of our board members, this was powerful when she said to me, I can't believe that there's not one person who will make this walk with them as their sister or their cousin or their family member. And that's really what we do. It's the encounter. It's spending time with them, because that love, that is freeing. And then they realize that they have so much more growth that God wants them to do instead of going back to square one. Where does abortion leave you? But who knows what the future holds when you say yes. When you say yes to Heather's house, that's scary, moving into community. And that idea of boundaries. What kind of boundaries am I going to encounter? How am I going to be called out of a Facebook world or text messaging or out of these familiar relationships that have been painful, but they're familiar, and so there's safety there. And then you come into a home with all these other women and you think, I don't know what they're going to think of me. Is my lifestyle going to be acceptable here? Can I change? So love and patience and faith. We have the chapel in our home, so we have Mass two times a week. And it's just beautiful to think of His presence there, and then how it reverberates throughout the home and each of the moms.
Well, Aid for Women is, among the thousands now of pregnancy resource centers, medical centers, crisis pregnancy centers, so that's good news. But you are unique to me in that you have 5 pregnancy centers that are serving people. So we're involved with 1, and boy, that's a heck of a lot of work. And then you have all these services that you're providing, which you want to hear more about. And then you have these 2 residential homes. I mean, it's a lot. It's a beautiful, holistic work. And as Andrea was sharing, whether it's the residential homes or whether it's these 5 resource centers that you have, speak to us about that whole idea of accompaniment, of walking with, of helping these girls, because so many of them are really in despair when they come to you. How do you walk with them? What's given to them? How do you listen to them? What will they find when they come to the resource centers?
Yeah, I would say even from the first time when they call the hotline, we love her over the phone, and we want to just love and listen, and we try and even form that relationship already when she calls, and even stay on the phone for some time and really get to know her, to learn about her situation and what is troubling her. And I think that builds that trust, and then she wants to come in. She wants to continue the conversation with us at one of our centers. And so once coming to the centers, again, we kind of continue that conversation of getting to know her and what is it in her life that's making her feel kind of cornered or backed into the situation where she has to choose abortion. So we talk through that, and then of course we offer the ultrasound exam, which is such a powerful tool. And that has changed many hearts and saved many lives. We have do ultrasound at 3 of our locations. And then if she needs more support, whether it might be housing and she would live at one of our homes, or sometimes she might not need housing, but she just needs that ongoing relationship. So we would encourage her to keep coming back to our centers, maybe come weekly. We have some materials where we can kind of teach her about parenting, about prenatal care and different things like that, and just to kind of continue that relationship with her for as long as she needs us. We even have clients who, even several years after their baby is born, they just want to come and talk with their counselor or meet with us, and or maybe they need some diapers or other things too, and we would help in that way. So we really try and love them for as long as they need us.
And that's so encouraging, because last week I had a client who came back and she'd had her baby. She was in an unplanned pregnancy. She was with the toxic guy, but that was what she was used to. Got out of that toxic relationship. The guy who walked along, a good friend of hers, he decided that they should get married, and he proposed to her, and she came in. She goes, look at this joy, I got the ring. And so she goes, I wanted to tell you the good news, Because every time I came in here, I was telling you bad news. And so today it's the good news. And she's getting married in August, and she says she's going to send an invitation. And you know, but that's the part that you want to walk them out with life. It's not like they just walk in the door and it's case closed.
Right.
It's a relationship, and it's love, and it goes on. Well, we have a story from one of your girls. Her name is Janessa. So Janessa was one of your women who came into your center, and so we want you all to hear and see Janessa's story.
You know, you hear about Planned Parenthood, and you're just like, I'll never do it, I'll never do it. And then when you're in that moment, all that changes. So I was 19 years old when I found out I was pregnant. I was just in a state of shock. I cried for like 4 months. It was gonna be a very, very difficult time for me, and I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't know who to reach out to. I didn't know if I would be able to do it by myself, and it was just an overwhelming experience for me. I needed help. So I took it to Google, and for some reason, A for Women just stuck out to me. The counselors, they were there, you know, just to hug me, to hold me, you know. Personally, I didn't have that. So coming here, it was just amazing for these women to just be so selfless. I would drop in there every single day, and I would like really pour my heart out to one of the counselors, and she knew that I had nowhere else to go. She said, you know what, you would be perfect for Heather's house. The day I moved into Heather's house, I just knew that this was gonna be my home. I just felt like I belonged here. You know, we all were young. You become like almost like sisters, you know. We really needed each other, and we leaned on each other when we needed that help. There were times where we cried together, we laughed together, we didn't agree all the time, but you know, that's what happens when you're around a group of people that you really care about. All the women that work here, they wanted to help us, and we saw they wanted to help us, so we reached out back to them. So the day I had Christian, I didn't know it was gonna be that hard. Honestly, I didn't. But once he arrived, I don't know how to explain it, but when you see your child for the first time, it's breathtaking. He was a part of me, and he knew it. Like, he just filled me up. I always tell him, you fill my heart all the way up, because he gives me that encouragement. He gives me that strength. He makes me feel like I can overcome any obstacle. I said, okay, Christian needs a future. My son needs a future. And the only way that I can do that is if I go to college. I did a little research, and I found out about a scholarship, and I didn't turn back after that. I want Christian to know love and to feel love and just have a better life. And I know that the steps that I'm taking right now will help him have that foundation, you know, to be what he wants to be and to do what he wants to do and be a strong, good man. Going through counseling services with A for Women and being a resident at Heather's house, it really built my character. It really made me a strong young woman, because before I came here, I wasn't strong at all. I was kind of lost. I didn't know what direction I wanted to go with in my life, and I just really needed that love and that, you know, that 100% having my back, you know, being there for me, making sure that I'm okay, making sure my son's healthy. Even though it's been 2 years, I just feel like it really makes you strong. Even if you feel like you're having a tough time here, it really makes you strong.
Well, thank you, Jesus. That was just a powerful, powerful testimony. How did the both of you feel? How do you feel when you hear that? When you hear Janessa tell her story? What does it do to you?
Well, I should say that I had to watch it so many times before I could finally watch it all the way through without crying.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is still so touching, and I think it just, for me, it just really kind of says it all. Like, this is why we're doing this, you know, this is why we get up every morning. This is why, you know, this is why this is so important. And even a little footnote to that story is Janessa then went to RCIA, and she and Christian were baptized and welcomed into the church.
To God be the glory.
So I think we just try and, you know, help people in many different ways, and certainly the area of faith is one of them. But it just, it's just, to me, and we have so many Janessas and that we've helped, and so many Janessas yet to be helped. So I think that just really kind of just affirms, you know, what we do. Because as you two know, with you know, being in the work, you know, day in and day out, you know, it can sometimes get a little bit like, you know, oh, are we making a difference? Because sometimes you don't even, it's hard to even follow up with women. We're saving lives that we may not even realize. So it's always nice, and we have a great story like Janessa's.
Why don't you share how you got involved with this beautiful apostolate?
Yes. So after I graduated, I was asking God where He wanted me to be, and my faith was new, so I wanted to be in a Catholic environment. So I volunteered with Aid for Women as a Vitae Corps member. So living in the home, helping the moms get to prenatal care appointments, helping prepare dinner, watching kids when moms need a break, because single parenthood is tough. So pray for our families. And so that was my first year in the organization. And then it was probably last spring, so I'm now in my second year as a staff member. It was through Catholic Jobs, so seeking Christ is what really leads everyone to Aid for Women. And for the women, too, they're seeking Christ in the form of hope. Right. And so they come to our home just so open and ready to receive what He has. And that's, of course, there's conflict and there's difficulty there. You had mentioned before the show sorrow and joy, and how those things are so intertwined at Heather's house. Every time I look at Caroline and Gio or any of the kids in the home, and we think about what blessings they are to all of us, even if it's at dinner time, everyone's had a long day, and all of a sudden the kids are doing something crazy at the table, and then we're all laughing, and we're brought together in them, and we're present. To think that we wouldn't have had that possibly. And
you know, that's the beauty of any family, of any household. I mean, we had 4 kids, and we had supper time, and we had joy, and we had sorrow, and things happen in life, you know. And so it's the way that we become human, and we learn to work out how to live and how to love and how to be selfless and how to be prayerful and how to serve. I mean, because if they come to you and they didn't learn that, then when they come to, you know, your ministry, those are ways they're going to be discipled. And to say, maybe it wasn't, men didn't always have to use you. And so come and find a new way. Find love, find chivalry, find a way where you will be loved, honored, adored, and cherished just because of who you are.
And that's the topic of men in the home. It's a difficult one because, and he had mentioned it in the interview, but talking about honoring each other, we want the women to honor men and to know that they are called to holiness, this example that we have of dignity and caretaking. So the VCs and all of the staff in the home, we're always praying for the fathers because we see how much they're missing out on. There was a verse in the breviary this week from Malachi, and it said, fathers, return to your children, children return to your fathers. That's the work of Aid for Women and everyone in the pro-life. We're saying we are overlooking great blessings in the forms of our children. They're just calling us to be more like Christ, and so the moms see that. You should see the transformation from the time that they go to the hospital to what they come home in. We're driving the car really slow, post-surgery, whatever, driving slow, but they are glowing, and you've never seen them with such peace before. Did they know that something they were so afraid of would bring them so much peace.
Right. Well, if people wanted to aid your ministry, you also have a website. It's called Help Aid for Women, right? And what would they find there?
Yes, at helpaidforwomen.org. There's lots of places where they can see volunteer opportunities, or we have a lot of different events going on throughout the year, and we also, again, would encourage everyone to please pray for us. That's very important too. We can always use more prayers.
Right, and I'm sure it costs money to do this too,
And
right?
yes, if someone
and so somebody said, well, I can't stop abortion, I can't do anything. Well, I could channel finances to you that you could, give you the tools so you could finish the job on the front line in Chicago. Because you were sharing earlier that Chicago is the 5th state that's the largest abortion provider in the country, right? You're number 5. California, New York being up there, so you're in a battle zone.
And it's also very costly for us for our outreach, because we're in such a competitive environment. So when we're doing like our Google Internet, trying to reach out to those women, we're competing against all the abortion clinics for that advertising space. So the outreach, or whether being in a big urban area, or whether it's we're doing the public transit campaign too. So yeah, that all takes funds.
It does.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for the great and holy work that you're doing, Aid for Women. We're sharing about the gospel of life. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's show with Susan and Andrea, who certainly are doing a lot to empower women who are in a crisis pregnancy situation. Be sure to join us Wednesday when our guest will be Mary Sambo. Now, Mary's going to tell us all about some powerful prayers that can help end abortion. So keep it on EWTN. Remember, you are always at home with Jim and Joy. God bless you.